guys, this is Comic Uno episode 35 and Comic Frontline. So this is a show where I review all comics I read this week in one show. And this week I have 14 comics, 1 digital and 13 printed. So let's just get started. So of course we're going worst pick of the week to best pick of the week. So what was number 14 this week? We got Wolverine and the X-Men, issue 41. I'm going to actually start out and say there weren't really any bad comics. So this wasn't actually a horrible issue at all. Just the lowest for this week. Actually I was really impressed by a lot of comics this week. And even comics I usually don't like that much, I'm just keeping with because they're miniseries. So let's talk about Wolverine and X-Men first. This is the second to last issue, and it's actually a Toad issue. Toad is fired from his janitor job because of everything that happened with the Hellfire Club. And he becomes a hero in the end a little bit to try to redeem himself, but he doesn't end up redeeming himself because he teams up with the Hellfire Club in the end. And that's kind of what upset me, because he had a lot of possibilities in this issue he didn't really take. Like he had this girlfriend that, the Rip girl, whatever her name is, Husk, I think her name is. He could add a girlfriend, and she's not crazy right now, so he didn't go on a date with her. He redeemed himself. He could have went back to the X-Men and say, hey, I tried to save you. No, he goes with the villains. So there's a lot of times where he could have redeemed himself, and there was actually a lot of moments where I feel for Toad, but there wasn't that ending where it's like, this was all worth it. He actually goes to the wrong side of the tracks and goes with the Hellfire Club. He doesn't end up with a girl. The art's a little bit less detailed as I want it to be. The faces really have no detail. So the art's just okay in the issue. I've seen obviously worse for this series, but the art's just okay. So overall, this was an okay issue. Honestly, I think it's still worth picking up. Again, there was actually no really horrible issues this week. I think this is worth picking up because usually with a 3-star book, which this is, I lean towards don't pick it up or pick it up, but I say pick it up. It was actually a good issue. I just thought the ending was like, kind of why did I read this? It doesn't give us real revelation for Toad. And also, before I end with Wolverine and X-Men, I want to talk about this cover. Now, it was actually solicited as Kitty Pryde. So I was like, oh, maybe Kitty Pryde comes back to the Wolverine and the X-Men. No, they totally changed her last minute to this random blonde girl. Lockheed was actually on her shoulder too, so I thought that was something interesting to bring up. As a Kitty Pryde fan, obviously I've noticed. So yeah, it's kind of upsetting that Kitty wasn't on the cover, because I was like, oh, Kitty's returning, and she's not returning at all. So yeah, that was a little change if you recognize that. It's actually still solicited as Kitty Pryde there, so that's a little fun fact. Alright, now we're up to number 13, which is a Comic Frontline exclusive, just like Wolverine and the X-Men was, and that is Marvel Knights X-Men, issue 4. And again, this actually wasn't a horrible issue. It is just the lowest on my list this week, because it was just an okay issue. It wasn't horrible. It's still worth picking up. I think if you've been going through this series, it's worth picking up. With this issue, we actually have some really fun parts. Is there still that confusion of these two random mutants popping up people's history and making them real, controlling people? Yeah, there's still that confusion. And I think with the art also, it's a little bit too bright, a little too cartoony. Yeah, a little like, oh, look at this, all chaos here. So yeah, we still got that. And that's still a problem with this issue. But the good part is with Rogue, honestly. Rogue attacks her past with Captain Marvel, who was Miss Marvel at the time, because she did something evil to Miss Marvel. She stole her identity, really. And I remember that aftermath in the Miss Marvel series that I read. She forgot everything. She forgot her family. She didn't love them because she couldn't remember to love them. So obviously that was harsh, and you get to see Rogue was a villain, and why does she deserve to be a hero? Wolverine, the same thing. Kitty's not really going through this because she was never a villain. Did she have dark past? I guess, with her ninja style maybe, but she never really had a horrible dark past, so she's more teaming up with the girl who's a mutant who was abused by her uncle. In the last part of this issue, we get to see that Professor Xavier pops up because, anyone could pop up in this series. So yeah, that's kind of the bad thing. There's a lot of chaos here. Like, literally anyone's popping up. Professor X in the end. What's his name? The devil person who was actually in Wolverine and the Kitty Pryde miniseries, which I love. I can't think of his name right now. It starts with O. But yeah, that devil guy trained Wolverine to be a ninja. Yeah, we got a lot of people popping up here. It's a little confusing. You're like, whoa, okay, I get it, I guess, but the art art's also very cluttered. So yeah, there's a lot of bad things about this issue, but I thought this was a redeemable issue because the story was actually interesting for some of the characters, like digging into their real personality and really who they are, what they're scared of. So I like that. I'm going to give it 3 stars. I actually think this issue was worth picking up. Obviously, it's 3 stars, so it's not much worth picking up. Well, you've been reading this series, like, pick up the whole thing. That's what I've been going through. It's like, at the point where I'm like, I should drop this, it was kind of too late. So I'm going to just finish it up. And it's Kitty, so I'm not losing out. Alright, now we're up to number 12. Which is also something I usually give a lower grade, but I actually liked this week. Which was Forever Evil, Rogue's Rebellion, issue 5. Yeah, this is an okay issue. I think this is an improvement from the last issue. Again, nothing special here. But it was an improvement. We get to see, again, still, oh, I have to run away from the villain. There's more villains. We still get that, but a little bit less of that. There's some more story here. Where Mirror Master is pretty much the leader. He's fighting Johnny Quick, because obviously rogues are Flash villain. And they're trying to save Glider, and that's really what they're trying to do throughout this whole issue. But they run into trouble with the rest of Forever Evil. So in every issue, they are running from one villain, but now they're gonna have to run away from all villains. So yeah, this is actually an okay issue because I thought there was a little bit more characterization here. A lot of the rogues are giving up, but then they're like, we can't give up. This is not what the rogues are about. So I liked those portions of it. They still want to save Glider, which was cool. I thought the Johnny Quick and Atomica scene was pretty interesting. Just seeing the parallel between a regular Flash fight with these Crime Syndicate fight. So I'm going to give it 3.5. I thought this was an okay issue. The art's still a little, it's okay. It's still running away from a major villain. Do you need this story arc? No. But if you like the Rogues, this issue is a lot better than previous issues. I've actually given a lot lower grades to Rogues Rebellion, which is a shame because I've been loving the Rogues in New 52. But I'm going to give this a 3.5. I thought this was an okay issue. Obviously still lower on my list. You don't need to pick this up, but I thought this was definitely an improvement from what we've been getting. That's not really saying much. Alright, I think we're up to like 11 now? Let's see. Yes, we're up to number 11, which is actually All New X-Men issue 23, Part 3 of Trials of Jean Grey. This actually is something that I got a lot lower as I did my in-depth review. You know, I actually gave this a 4-star, a lot higher on the list, but there's a lot of problems with this issue, actually. The art's great, as always. The art's beautiful with the series. It's the same art. You get to see really a lot of facial expressions, which is great. So it's good art, but the story really does not progress that much for a for a 5-part series and a 5-part story arc. It's really the Guardians trying to find Jean, and Jean's left alone. She's on trial. That's it. And she's not really on trial. They just kind of leave her alone, and that's it. So we're not getting a lot of progression. The dialogue's a lot of fun here. Like Iceman saying he's a princess. That was pretty cool. A really cool Kitty Pryde reference was her mentioning the bullet, kinda, saying, me in space don't work out. Last time I was in space. So her referencing the bullet and her death I thought was really cool. Just going back to like Kitty Pryde history. Because you guys know I'm a big Kitty Pryde fan. So I really like seeing that. So the dialogue was fun. I liked the team-up version of the Guardians of the Galaxy and the X-Men. But there's a lot of out-of-the-blueness here. Like, Cyclops was actually trapped with Jean in the last issue of All New X-Men, and Guardians of the Galaxy obviously didn't continue that. And now he's on the ship. And I'm like, whoa, when did that happen? And I think Beast was also trapped with them too. I'm like, when was he saved? So they just totally skipped that. I was like, oh, okay, I guess that happened. And also, there's a lot of clutteredness. There's a lot going on, a lot of people talking, and that's a big example. I thought there was just way too many people on one page. So I'm going to give this a 3.5. I thought this was an okay issue. Not horrible, but I was expecting a little more with this issue. Not a lot gets progressed. The art's good, but there's some good points here too where I definitely think it's worth picking up, but I expected a lot more, and I think I was a little bit more hyped up with this issue because part 1 was so good. It was actually my pick of the week last time it was out, so I'm going to give that 3.5. Kind of disappointed with that one. Alright, next is number 10, which is Superior Spider-Man issue 27. Yeah, a little lower on the list than I expected this too. A lot of hyped up issues, maybe I had them too hyped, are a little lower on the list. Because again, maybe it was a little bit too hyped than what I got. And that's with Superior. I thought it was good issue enough. Definitely good enough to pick up. You know, there's some good Goblin stuff, but not a lot getting progressed in this issue. You know, we've gotten already a lot of preludes, so I wanted a little bit more to happen in this issue because, again, it's part 1. We got preludes already. We already got a setup. I want to see more. So we get to see Superior and Green Goblin meet up, and Green Goblin does know Superior's Dr. Octopus, which we already expected to happen because of previous issues and what was going on with Carly, so that wasn't a big surprise. But I did like that scene. I like the interactions between them. I like seeing Peter again. But again, there's not a lot going on in this issue. Really no progression in this issue. You know, we get to see Goblin Nation stuff all over the place. The art's also a little off for me. And I think a perfect example is, I would say, the regular faces. So like Peter's face. I think Spider-Man looks fine with this issue, and I'll give you an example of that. I actually think the art's pretty good with Spider-Man. But then with Peter's face, I thought it looked a little weird. I like Rey Mysterio's art a little bit better for Peter and for the series, so I thought it was a little off with the art. But overall, I thought it was an okay issue. Not a lot of progression, but there's still some really interesting stuff here. Again, the Goblin conversation, getting to see Peter a little. And also one thing I want to bring up, because the cliffhanger in this issue is that they blow up Spider Island. And there was a big part in the prelude with Spider-Man team up. With the Minions. The Minions were actually evil, and that hasn't played out in Superior Spider-Man at all. So I've been a little disappointed with that, because, like, are they evil or are they not evil? Did it only happen there? And they actually referenced something else from that issue. So I thought that was a little weird that they're just, like, totally ignoring that. So maybe that wasn't supposed to happen. I don't know. So there's some things off about this issue, but it's still an okay issue. I'm going to give it a 3.5. This is number 10 on my list. Again, a little lower than I wanted to, but maybe because I was just so hyped up with the issue. Alright, number 9 I think we're up to. Again, another hyped up issue that I kind of expected a little bit more from, which is kind of more on the middle of my list right now, and that is She-Hulk, issue 1. I love the tone for this issue. There's actually a lot of things I loved about this issue. Again, the tone, it felt very Daredevil, felt very Hawkeye, very indie, I would say. It felt really good to see She-Hulk back in her own series. I think she deserves her own series. I love her other solo series. And I've talked about it in my indie review. In my in-depth review on my channel, a little bit what I want to see with She-Hulk. You can check out my in-depth review if you want to, you know, want a little bit more on that. But with this issue, I think the problem I had was probably the legal mumbo-jumbo was a little bit too much for me. An example of that is with Tony Stark, legal guy. There's actually a point where he's just talking and the text gets smaller and smaller, saying, hey, this is not important, you don't need to know this. And there's actually a lot of points where I'm like, whoa, I really don't care what he's talking about. The points I do care is when Jennifer is working with her client. You know, those are the things I like. It felt, you know, like Daredevil, how they're able to balance that and make the legal stuff interesting. And I think there were points here, but there were a lot of dragging points at the same time. And also, I thought the story in general was just kind of okay, but I love Jen in this issue, and that's why I'm really think this series has potential, and this kind of could have just been an off one issue, and I think this series could still be great, and I could see this on my, you know, number 1 spot, because I see maybe it was just really the story I didn't love, but I liked the tone, I liked the dialogue, so, and for most of the dialogue at least. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the supporting cast, and I love the ending of this issue because Jen is getting her own law firm. So I like those portions of the issue, and that's why I really love the potential of this issue. But one also thing I want to mention is the art. I think at times it's good, but it needs to find its own voice because it does remind me a little bit too much of Hawkeye. And then the detail in the face is okay. I wanted to say a little bit more. I think Jen's face is a little puffy, a little bit too round in my opinion, honestly. And then a good example of these lawyers, not a lot of detail in their face. So I want to see a little bit more of that as the series goes on. But sorry I'm talking about She-Hulk so long. It is a number 1, so obviously I got to give a little bit more time to it. I think because I was so hyped up for this. This is one of my really looking forward to all new Marvel Now series, and I just thought it was okay. But it has so much potential. I'm really looking forward to the second issue, and obviously we'll be picking up the second issue. So I'm gonna give that a 3.5, and I thought it was okay. And that was number 9 on my list. So number 8 we are up to now, and that is Kick-Ass 3. Dropped the next one. Okay. It's Kick-Ass 3, issue 6. Only 2 more issues after this until the end of Kick-Ass. Now, with this issue, I liked it. I did, but there's a lot of factors going against this issue at the same time. The factors are lateness. This series has been delayed for months now. I don't even remember the last issue. That's how bad it is. I really don't remember what happened in the last issue, and I always feel that with Kick-Ass. Example of also another series, a Millar series, a Jupiter Legacy. That series hasn't come out since September. It's supposed to be a monthly or bi-monthly series. Has not come out since September. The next time it's coming out is March. So that's just an example of delaying this, and that actually affects an issue because you don't remember what happened with that last issue. Especially me, because I read like 14 comics a week. You know, I want to remember that last issue, but I don't, and that has been a stabbing moment, I guess, for Kick-Ass 3. Really needs to get back on track. Or I don't mind a 2-month delay, maybe even a 3-month delay, which I think this is like a 3 or 4-month delay, this series. Also with this issue, it doesn't really progress really the main arc, which I feel like with Kick-Ass 3 there hasn't been a main arc. And that's a really downfall of Kick-Ass 3. I love Hit Girl, so it was great to see her origins. I like that, but I think it was really out of place. We could have gotten her origins in maybe Hit Girl. We could have gotten her origins with issue 2 of Kick-Ass. The last 3 issues was not a good moment to get Hit Girl origins, especially for something that was fun to see, but not needed to see. Like, I love to see how Mindy got her first kill and what gave her the braveness to kill all these people. It was great to see that, and that was really the fun part of this issue, was Hit Girl's origins. But again, there's a lot of factors going against that, because it just wasn't the right time. I like that Mindy's mom accepted her, and there were some really good moments in this issue, and that's something I do want to say. There was a lot of good moments in this issue. A little less Kick-Ass in this one. I guess is okay not to have Kick-Ass for a little while, but let's balance that story. Let's get Mindy and Kick-Ass in the same issue for a little while. That's also something going against it. The cliffhanger is actually pretty good because Mindy's fate is in risk. Is she gonna die or is she not gonna die? And that can actually happen with this last couple issues with Kick-Ass. Mindy can die. Kick-Ass can die. This is that type of series. So I'm going to give this a 3.5. There are factors going against it because it's a good issue, but maybe a misplaced issue. It's an expensive issue. It's a $4.99 book. So I'm going to give this 3.5 stars. Still a good issue, still worth picking up, but there are factors going against it. Alright, let's see what's next. Okay, number 7 is The Bunker, issue 1, which is actually a digital comic I have from Oni, which I've never read anything from Oni before, but this actually looked pretty interesting. We're getting Oni comics now too, digitally, so I was like, oh, why not give this a try? And I'm actually really glad I gave it a try, because usually these type of series will be a lot lower on my list, but I had a lot of fun time with this issue. It's about this zombie apocalypse that's coming, and these young adults, not teenagers, young adults who just graduate college, getting jobs, find out that they are the main players of this zombie apocalypse and creating the apocalypse, and maybe destroying it at the same time. And there's other drama going on too, like who's sleeping with whose boyfriend and all that, but they do in a good way in this issue, and I think the characters were interesting from really this issue. I wouldn't say page 1, but by halfway through the issue, you care about these characters. I thought the art fit for this series, and I had a fun time with it. So I'm going to give it 4 stars. I thought it was very solid, and I think I'm going to read issue 2 and see where it goes. I hope it's more of a mini-series, because I don't see this becoming more of an ongoing, but I do like this as a mini-series. I like the characters, and I really liked the originality of this book. So, and again, the characters were good too. So, that's number, what on my list? That was number 7. So now we're getting up to number 6, which is actually higher than it usually is. That's Nightwing issue 28. This was actually a really good, solid issue. I liked a lot of this because we get to see Nightwing, he's getting used to Chicago. Tony Zuko's now in jail, so he's still in Chicago, even though that's his mission. And he has this chameleon type villain going against him, which really wasn't that important. But he does have some random villain in the beginning. And, you know, one of the friends weren't able to get tape of it. So I guess it helped him in a way for the story arc, but it wasn't that important. So we get to see also Tony Zuko's daughter, Sonia, come to town. And still, you know, asks for Dick for his forgiveness, saying, I don't want to be friends, I just kind of want to say sorry for everything I did, and sorry I didn't tell you he was still alive. Or no, I don't remember what he didn't tell, not still alive, I think it was where he was or something, I don't remember what she lied about. But she lied about something, and I thought that was a really good moment. And then the best moment of this issue really was that this girl, she has these parents that she loved, and we met the parents in this issue, and it was the annoying girl that found out Nightwing's identity in the last issue and didn't really say anything. And her parents die. They get mugged. And, oh, isn't that familiar? Batman, Nightwing's parents left the orphan. So now this girl is left to be an orphan. And again, she knew about Nightwing's identity, and Nightwing didn't, you know, say yes or no. And she's like, no, I'm going to go out and chase this killer myself. And she's not old either. She's a very young girl. I would say even probably before Dick was Robin. She's very young. So obviously she doesn't know what she's doing. And Dick's like, oh no, she went to go find her parents' killer. So I thought this was a really solid issue because of that, and I really liked the characters. I thought the character moments between Sonia and Dick were great. This little girl was really interesting, and I liked the cliffhanger, actually. This was a really cool Chicago story, which I haven't said that in a while, and now next issue is the last issue. It's going to be sad to see that. And now why I didn't give a higher grade is actually the art. It looks so weird, this art. It's very anime-ish. I did not think it fit this book at all. Is it better than what we've been getting? I don't know. It's different from what we've been getting, so I haven't really liked the other art we've been getting with the series either. But look how anime this type of art is, and his hair looks so weird. So other than the art, and probably the first scene with that villain that didn't really matter, I thought this was actually a really solid issue. I liked the cliffhanger. There were some really good moments here, so this definitely deserves number 6 on my list, and this gets 4 stars. Really impressed by this one, because I haven't been loving Nightwing. Alright. Number 5, and that is Batgirl, issue 28. Yeah, this is a little lower than I usually give this series. It's always higher on my list. But this is a little bit more of a generic issue of Batgirl. We get to see Batgirl's teaming up with Strix, the mute person from Birds of Prey, which was really fun. I really liked Strix in this issue, so I liked those moments. She actually goes in her civilian clothes to find this missing girl, where Strix, I guess, has a close connection to that, and Barbara actually treats her kind of like a little girl at the same time, too. I say, alright, Strix, honey, we'll go find this girl, and that's what they're doing. And now this vampire hunter who thinks he's a vampire hunter, he thinks the Bat family are vampires, which I thought was kind of funny, but was a little generic at the same time. I don't like vampire stories and comic books that much, early superhero comic books. So I thought it was kind of interesting the way they did it, though, saying, oh, the Bat family are vampires because they're out at night. And then this vampire hunter discovers who Batgirl is, and they fight, and the police catches Barbara in her civilian clothes fighting this vampire hunter. And we also find out the vampire hunter stole the girl. Because I guess the vampire hunter thought this girl was connected to Barbara, which I didn't really understand because Barbara just found this girl. So I thought that was a little weird, that this guy thought this girl was connected to Barbara, but who knows. But I thought this was a very solid issue. I really enjoyed it. I liked the dialogue between Strix and how she found a prom dress that she just really wanted it. You know, Barbara being caught by the police in the end, I thought was a really good cliffhanger. Like, how's she gonna get out of that? I feel like that's always been the cliffhanger with Batgirl lately, though. I thought the vampire villain was generic but original at the same time, because I'm not a big fan of the vampire being, or a vampire hunter being the villain. But again, it's cool that he's not actually a vampire hunter, but he's just crazy. But I feel like this arc could be a little forgettable, so that's why I did give it 4 stars. I feel this could be very forgettable as issues go on, but still fun arc. So we'll see where it goes. That's number 5 on my list. Sorry, I'm like so thirsty today. Alright, number 4 is Superman Wonder Woman, issue 5. Superman Wonder Woman is my favorite Superman title out right now, and this is how you do an action-packed issue. You know, not a lot happens story-wise, which there's one thing actually that was brought up in this issue, which I'll get to, but there's not a lot happening story-wise, but it's more of an action issue between Superman, Wonder Woman, Fiora, and Zod. Fiora's back, and I loved it. I thought the action was so fluid because of Tony S. Daniels' art. Art is brilliant in this series, and I like the connection Wonder Woman and Superman have in this issue and this series in general. So I thought this was a very solid issue. You know, I wish the story progressed a little bit more with this, because this story hasn't been progressing that much with the arc, but the action really made up for it. Action was great in this issue, art was great, and the one thing I actually wanted to bring up with this issue was that Wonder Woman actually learned Kryptonian for Clark, and I thought that was cool. And for me, that doesn't know much about prenup to Superman, did Lois ever do that for Clark? Did she ever learn Kryptonian for Clark? And that's something I'm going to ask you guys. I think that's a really interesting tidbit, that, you know, Wonder Woman learned that for Clark. So I am asking you, did that ever happen with Lois and Clark? I do want to know that. I think that is very interesting. So yeah, overall, I thought this was a very good action-packed issue, and this is how you do an action-packed issue. You know, even though there wasn't a lot of story, this is a very entertaining and very fluid art for the action. So reminded me a little bit of Man of Steel at times, actually, with the action, because Fiora was in this issue and Zod. And let's add Wonder Woman in it, too. So, 4 stars, and that was number 4 on my list. Alright, now we're up to number 3. Getting up there now. Alright, number 3 was Smallville Alien, issue 3. Had a blast with this issue, actually. This was a 4-star book, too, but very close to being a 4.5. So in this issue, we get some really fun moments between Batman, Chloe, Lois, and Nightwing, which is Barbara. I love those moments. Actually, Lois, Chloe, and Barbara were just having this really cool girl night type moment in this issue. You know, talking about, oh, should we have kids in Gotham? What should Nightwing do about, or what should Barbara do about dating Dick, which is this circus guy, which is obviously going to be Dick Grayson. And then Batman meditating with Chloe. I think those are some of the funnest moments with this issue. And then the parts where I didn't give it a 4.5 was probably the Superman parts, because I love the Batman parts and Lois parts. Lois and Barbara actually teaming up and fighting these thugs were great also. So that was so much fun. And then we get to the Superman part where it's with Lex, and I think they're trying to find something, or I don't remember what's going on with them. They're trying to find something. In the end, they're running, and this guy with powers are attacking them, and it's like this robot-type guy, and now they're in the ocean, because Clark obviously can't use his powers, and the cliffhanger is that Lex actually saves him, which Smallville Lex would do that, even though it's just Clark, and his Superman shirt is revealing. So I like the cliffhanger, didn't so much like the Lex and Clark story as much. I think compared to the Batman story, I thought it was a little bit more on the boring side. So that's why I did give it 4 stars, but I had a blast with this issue overall. Some great small moments here. The girl night stuff was kind of interesting. The cliffhanger was interesting too. So I'm going to give this 4 stars, and that was number 3 on my list. Alright. Number 2 is Batman, issue 28. Yeah, this is actually really close to being my pick of the week. I really enjoyed this issue, and even though it's a diversion from Zero Year, I actually haven't been loving Zero Year, so this actually was an improvement because it was divergent from Zero Year. I love this issue because, first of all, I'm not a big Harper Row fan, but Harper Row's Nightwing in this, because this is a couple of months after whatever, we don't know what. But a couple of months, I would say, after Forever Evil. And Harper Row was kind of kick-ass in this issue. I'm like, whoa, that's cool. She has like this hook to make her go backwards on a grapple on her foot. So I thought that was cool. I really liked the dialogue between Batman and Harper Row. I thought that was perfect. And then Catwoman was the kingpin of all this, leader of this Egyptian club. And I guess whatever's happening to Gotham right now, which we don't know, and I'm sure we'll learn in Batman Eternal. And the last part, which made me love this issue so much, is Catwoman saying, alright, I actually have someone who's the real deal. Someone that can actually help you through all whatever's happening in Batman Eternal. And that is Stephanie Brown. Stephanie Brown is in this issue, and I was like, yes, we get to see Stephanie Brown. So happy to see that. You know, I'm a big Stephanie Brown fan, and I'm really excited to see. Well, you know, we obviously haven't seen Stephanie Brown talk. We don't know her past, so I'm really looking forward to see what's still established and what's not established with their character. And I hope they don't ruin her character at the same time. So, really enjoyed this issue. First of all, because it made an underestimating character like Harper Row likable. Again, I didn't love the character, and I thought she was very likable with this issue. I liked the dialogue between Batman and Harper Row. Made me remind me of the older days when he's has an apprentice, which is a little younger, and not his son. So I like that. And obviously questioning what's happening to Dick Grayson in the future, and it made me excited for Batman Eternal. Like, what gets them to this part? Stephanie Brown kind of made this issue too. I say the only thing that was really bad about this issue, and why it didn't make #1 on my list, was probably the art was a little bit on the less detailed side. So that's an example, these little butlers over there. Batman a little shadowed over there. So the art's not perfect. If this was Greg Capullo art, I think this would have been my pick of the week. And also this issue was a little bit on the shorter side because we got a preview of American Vampire. So I wish we got a little more pages with Batman, maybe like a secondary story, maybe like a first chapter of Batman Eternal, like the actual first preview. I thought that would have been a little smarter. But yeah, I like this issue overall. Obviously, this is #2, very close to being my #1 pick. And I give this 4.5 stars. Really close to being my #1 pick. Really like that issue. Alright, now we're going to #1, which is... Sorry, my throat is like so scratchy right now. I guess it's the weather. But anyways, going to #1. One more sip of water before I get to that. #1 is Justice League of America, issue 12. Now I'm going to say it was actually really hard to pick this, because I really like Batman issue 28 for different reasons. I like Justice League of America. With Batman issue 28, I thought it was a really pleasant surprise to get a Batman Eternal issue. There's some really great stuff with the issue. It is divergent from 0 Year, so I really like that. But then there was a couple little tidbit problems. With Justice League America, I thought I was most intrigued with the issue, even though there was some problems with the issue. I'm going to just get through the problems, which wasn't big for me. And that probably was not knowing if Stargirl's brother died previously. Is he dead? Because it was kind of insinuated that something was happening to the brother. So I thought that could have been concluded in this issue, because that was a little off. And then the settings with this issue are a little confusing, but that's kind of been with this whole series. It's always like going all over the place a little, but also it's Forever Evil, so you kind of understand why it's going all over the place. And again, for me, that didn't really ruin the story for me at all. I actually really love this story. And this whole issue is actually about Stargirl, how she's a hero. And Martian Manhunter, he's dying from Disparo's hands. And Stargirl has to save LA. She has to go to Firestorm and try to save the heroes by herself. And Martian Manhunter is dying. Will he die? That was a great cliffhanger also. And it was really, this issue, why is #1, and maybe why Batman Eternal wasn't #1. Because I actually had this as a page turner. Like, I really wanted to learn more. Like, what's going to happen to the mother? Like, what happened to make Stargirl like this? Why is she such a great character? And I think with this series they explain so much why Stargirl is such a great character. Sorry, my throat's so scratchy right now. So I do think they explain why Stargirl is such a great character, because they're like, she is a hero and she has such innocence that is what makes her a hero. And even though she had this horrible thing that happened to her, she uses that to her advantage. And she doesn't want to forget the horrible thing. Is it that her brother died? I don't know. Because they don't explain that towards the end, which I think they should have. And then there's that Martian Manhunter story, that Mars story, where he uses that analogy, and you're like, whoa, you thought that was Martian Manhunter, that he's sacrificing himself, but it was always about Stargirl. And I was like, well, I did not expect that. So I really like the narration for the story the best. I think these two unlikely heroes teaming up with each other is what I loved about this Forever Evil tie-in in general. So I gotta give this 4.5, even though I did see some problems with this issue. That's why I didn't give it a 5-star. For me, this is the story I enjoyed the most. I like these characters a lot. The story really made me have a page-turner. It's what I enjoyed the most. Even though I thought Batman Eternal maybe was structured a little bit better, I really enjoyed Justice League of America this week. Again, maybe because I'm just a big Stargirl fan, and I love that unlikely team-up with Martian Manhunter and Stargirl, and that's just getting it stronger and stronger. And I just want to see a Martian Manhunter Stargirl series. Is that so hard to ask? I don't know. I want to see their own solo series. If we have to get it, let's just get a team-up series for them. Love to see that. But is Martian Manhunter going to survive? That's another question. But hope you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno, and of course I'll have Comic Uno episode 36 next week. And tell me your worst pick of the week, your best pick of the week. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter for Comic Uno and the Right Situations. And don't forget to like my Facebook page. Don't forget to subscribe to Comic Frontline if you're not subscribed. And hope you guys enjoy. This is Comic Uno, and I'll see you guys later.